Hi there, my name is Karen Fabian and I'm the founder of Bare Bones Yoga, and welcome to this short practice video where I'll be taking you through kind of an all levels flow. It'll be about 20 minutes long, and I'm also going to add in a little bit of a focus on the anatomy behind the cues as well as some of the logic around the sequencing. So I encourage you to roll out a mat. If you have a block, grab a block, and we're going to start in child's pose. So come on down onto your hands and knees, and you could place a block on the ground. You could bring your arms back or in front. And I just want you to start out by taking about 3 big breaths. All right, and then from there, begin to come up and place your hands about shoulder width distance apart. Take your knees back a bit, tuck your toes, and then lift your knees and push your hips up high. Now, teachers, I want you to notice that I never actually said the name of the pose, and I do that kind of intentionally. I don't oftentimes like to start out with the name of the posture. I oftentimes like to just start out with what I want people to do, and then I might say downward dog at the end. So if you're always starting your sequencing by saying the name of the posture, try switching the order there so you actually start out by telling your students what you want them to do. Now with your hands on the mat, begin to press away from the ground. And as you press away from the ground, notice if you also find that your knees get really, really straight. If that happens, keep pressing away, but bend your knees a little bit and see if that feels any different. Set your gaze at one spot. Take a big breath in here and a big breath out. And then walk your feet forward. Set your feet about hip width distance apart and relax your head down. And then grab onto your elbows and just begin to rock a little bit front to back. And then begin to rock a little bit side to side. And then see between those movements if you can find a middle ground where you feel more balanced. And that balanced feeling might feel like your hips are over your heels, or a sense of more relaxation where it's less struggle to hold the posture. So just kind of search for that in your own body. And then release your hands down and lift halfway up. And if you do have a block around, you could place it in front. If you don't have a block, you could just use kind of a tented finger position. You could set your hands on the block, or again using the tented fingers. With your feet about hip width distance apart, kick your right leg back and halfway up. Now turn your upper toes out and then turn your upper toes down. And just do that a few times. And I want you to notice here not only the turning through your foot, but the turning through your hip. And then bring your foot down and do the same thing on the other leg. So teachers, what I'm trying to do here is get the student connected to how turning out their foot opens their hip. And this is a good way to prep people for the sensation of hip opening that they'll need in Half Moon, which is what I'm going to teach eventually. And then place that foot on the ground, bring your feet together, and come up to standing. Reach your arms up and bring your hands to your heart. And then just close your eyes here for a moment. Take a big full body breath in and a big breath out. All right. And we're going to start out with one Om. Inhale. Now reach your arms up And then right through the midline, bend your knees a little bit and fold. Now teachers, I do want to make a notation here. If some of you are teaching swan dive, just try, just for a difference, having people bend the knees and bring the hands through the midline a bit. And see if that, and you can try it in your own body, see if that changes the sensation in the back of your legs. The swan dive decline can be a little much because the hamstrings are in full extension. So that's just something to think about. And then lift halfway up, and now step into plank. Now in your plank, stack your shoulders over your wrists. Draw your belly button in and up a little bit, and press your heels back. And then just see if you feel an even distribution of effort between your upper body and your lower body. If it feels like your upper body is doing so much, press back through your heels a little more. Take a deep breath in, and then lift your hips up for downward dog. Take a few breaths here. Take a big breath in, and then exhale it out. Bend your knees, hop or walk to your hands. And then lift halfway and fold down. All right, now reach up to standing, all the way up. Now, teachers, I just want to point out, all of the reaching up, just notice if you're always cueing people to look up as well. There's just so much neck extension throughout the practice if we're always having them look up. It's just something to think about. And then bow forward. Lift halfway up, and then go to plank. Now, the idea of equal distribution of effort can only happen if the legs are engaged. So notice here, I'm really having people, I'm cueing them to press back through their heels. This will become all the more important when we make it harder by moving into low push-up. So as I have them come forward and lower, have them press back through their heels. And then when we come into upward dog, this is always a point where people have questions. Do we want to cue to the core or not? So if I have them use their rectus abdominis and pull the belly button in, you see how I start to go into hip flexion here? So I don't think I want to have them use the core. I want to have them use their hands and feet like levers to get more spinal extension or less. That can potentially impact if they feel any, I don't know, discomfort in their back. And then downward dog. Take a big breath in and out. Take another breath in and out. Take another breath in and out. One more, big breath. And then breathe it out, walk your feet to your hands, and lift halfway up, and then bow. Reach up to standing, right? I'm not even going to look up, and then bow forward, right? So just action cues. Lift halfway up, set your hands down, step your feet back. I don't even need to say plank. I could, right? But I'm just telling them what to do. Now keep the head steady. Try not to move the head at all. Come a little bit forward. As you lower down, hug your elbows in and press your heels back. So it's all action. Release your feet, press into the tops of your feet and your hands for upward dog. Look straight ahead and then roll over your toes. So here's where I'd want to engage the abdominal muscles, the rectus abdominis, right? Because I want to flex the hips here. So in that transition, yeah, I guess you could cue them to the core. It's not even really necessary though, because they're going to use it anyway if they know where they're going. Take a big breath. Exhale. Take another full breath. And then exhale it out. Bend the knees, hop or walk forward. Lift halfway up and then bow. Now bring the feet together and reach up to the sky. Right, now keep your arms up and come into chair. So one thing I just want to point out is, you notice I didn't come into chair from here. Right, so this Coming in a chair from here can be a lot sometimes for folks because a lot of muscle compensations can happen in chair pose because of different things, tightness, weakness. You know, these muscles all need to work in concert to create a shape with integrity here. And that is a little bit harder for people if they're coming at it from here, right? If I've got some tightness in my pecs, I might be inclined to go here. So to have them come into chair from standing keeps their spine at just natural curves. And then all they need to do is lean forward a bit and bend the knees. So even for someone that has some different things happening, I'm not going to get into all the details, to create some of these compensations, they're going to have a better chance at not going into those dysfunctional movement patterns if you start them from standing. And you have them just moderate a bit. Take a breath in and then bow. Lift halfway, and now set your hands down, step your feet back, keeping the head steady. Come a little bit forward, lower halfway down with your elbows in and your heels back, and then lift into upward dog. Press your hands and feet down, and then roll over your toes, downward dog. Now take your right leg and lift it halfway up, and push back through your heel like you did when your hands were on the block. Right, so here I'm reminding them of what they did at the beginning. Bring your right knee to your nose, and now step forward for Warrior One. Drop your back heel down, reach your arms up. So this is a good pose to teach from the bottom up. So root your heels is a great place to start. And now I know a lot of you are going to have questions about centering the hips. And just keep in mind the position of my hips is going to be in large part, if not mainly, because of the placement of my back foot. So if my back foot turns out, my hips are going to turn out. If my back foot turns in to some degree, I can get that centering of the hips. And then reach high. I don't have to say anything to the shoulder blades. The shoulder blades are going to just do what they naturally do. And I can just cue them to do different things. Root their feet, center their hips, take a few breaths, reach up, and then bring the hands down, step back, come forward and lower a little bit, and then downward dog. And then take your left leg up halfway, and press back through your heel enough that your hands feel a little lighter, like they're not doing as much work. We can transfer some of that work to the leg. And then bring your knee to your nose, step forward for Warrior One. Right, now when your arms go up, bring your focus to your feet and press your heels down. And now notice, can you bring the right hip forward and the left hip back easily? If you can't, maybe just turn that back foot in until you can. And then press down more, reach up, take a deep breath, and then release. And repeat high to low push-up. Take 3 breaths. Take a big breath in. Exhale, bend the knees, hop. Lift halfway up, and then bow. Sweep up to standing. And then keep your arms up, bend your knees for chair. Right, and as you bend your knees, just feel for the maintaining of just the natural curves of your spine. If you find you go lower and you start to feel different movements through your lower back or upper back, maybe just lift a little bit. Just think of your spine as if you were just standing on 2 feet, standing up. Take a big breath and then forward fold. Lift halfway and then hands down and feet back for plank, come forward. Keep your gaze steady at the ground as you lower. Upward dog, press your heart forward and your hands and feet down. And then downward dog. Take your right heel halfway up, press back, bring your knee in, step to warrior one. Press down and reach. Take an inhale, bring your hands down, step back to plank. Come forward and lower. Inhale as you lift, exhale as you press. Lift your left leg halfway, press back hard. And then pull your knee in and step like a cat. And then root and reach. Take a full breath and then let it go. All right, and just move on through high to low push-up. And then downward dog. All right, walk your feet to your hands. And then separate your feet. Slide your hands underneath your feet. So now we take the wrists out of extension into flexion. And we can drop the head. And it's good sometimes to just create a little bit of that opposite movement in the hands, since we do so much with the palms down in pronation. And then release your hands, walk your feet together. All right, so now what I'd like to do is take a block and put the block off the mat out in front of your right foot. And have the block a little bit off to the right. And then take your left hand and put your left hand, just your fingertips on the ground. So it's like a little kickstand. And then take your left foot back. Now remember at the beginning, so here I'm reminding them of what they did at the start. Remember at the beginning I had you open your toes out. I want you to do that here. And then push off your standing leg more. And just peek back and make sure you can see your foot back there. It's right behind your head with your toes pointing out. Now, for half moon, straighten your standing arm, straighten your standing leg, reach up and press back through your heel. Open the front of your body as much as you can. Keep that leg in the air really strong, just like you did in those other poses. Take a breath and then release. So you see how I kind of gave them a progression into the pose. I didn't just send them right into it. So take the block in front of your left foot a little out. Put your hand, just your fingertips down like a kickstand. Take your right leg back. Turn your toes open. Look back. Make sure you can see your foot. Because if it's way over here or way over here, you're going to fall. So make sure you can see it. And then press away more. Easier said than done. Kick back harder. Open your toes, open your hip, and reach up. Make your legs as strong as you can. See, I'm not using complicated like words, engaging or contracting. Just make your legs strong. People get that. Take a deep breath and then release. All right, so put the block over to the side, bring your feet together, sweep up, and then bring your hands to your heart. Right, just close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath in, and exhale out. All right, so sweep your arms out and up, and bow forward. All right, lift halfway, and then step to plank. Right, and then from plank to low plank, hug the elbows in, press the heels back, and then your upward dog, and then take it back. Right, so now take your right leg up and bring your knee in. Let's do warrior two. So step forward, open to the side with your arms out wide, and then just take a peek at your feet. Have your heels on a line, your arms out front to back. Right, and then reverse your warrior. And then coming to side angle, bring your right arm down to your leg and your left arm up in the air. All right, now tuck your right hip under and bring your left hand behind your body. All right, now begin to move away from the floor with your left shoulder. All right, so that is a ball and socket joint. So you can roll it, literally roll it open. You're going to open that shoulder up. Take one more breath. And then reverse the warrior, straighten the front leg. And then work through high to low push-up to down dog. Okay, take your left leg up. Bring your knee in. Step to warrior two. All right, so you're going to open out to the side. Your heels are more on a narrow line. And then reverse. Right? And then for side angle, bring your left arm down and your right arm over your head. Right, now try to keep your front knee right over your heel and tuck your left hip under a bit. And then go ahead and take that half bind. And notice if you've gone too far, you're going to feel that right shoulder turn in, possibly, and or your gaze will be down. You want your gaze to be to the side or a little bit up, so you're opening that upper shoulder. Take one more breath here, and then reverse, straighten the front leg, and then move through. High to low, push up till you're in down dog. Inhale, press, exhale, push, right? And then bring your feet together, bend your knees like a big, huge bend. Now hug in with your core, right? So I say core, but you guys know rectus abdominis, pull the belly button in, hop, halfway up, and bow. Reach up, inhale, and then hands to heart. All right, so now we're going to integrate. And I would actually tell students this, so they have an idea where we're going. We're going to integrate that half moon we did into the flow. So reach your arms up, take a bow, lift halfway, go to plank, and just keep going, right? We know this. We know this. We can do this, right? And then take your right leg up, step into warrior two, okay? Get your footing. Now reverse your warrior. And then come into side angle with your left arm up. Now, take your left hand to your left hip, just to shorten that lever and kind of regress the shape just a bit. Grab a block with your right hand. This block's going to go out in front of you. And now you're going to just take a little leap of faith into your half moon. Right? Recall what you did before when you had your fingertips on the floor. Now you're going to call back on the sensations that you had, the actions you did. Push back through your heel, open your hip, open your toes, reach your arm up high. Right, now nice and steady here. And then like a cat, step back, reverse, reverse your warrior, and then work through. High to low push up. And just keep going until you're back. And then take your left leg up, step through, warrior two, open out wide, reverse, right? So we're just kind of repeating the sequence so the nervous system is familiar. And then we have to shorten this lever so it's a little easier. So we regress the shape, take the block out in front, and then it's a leap of faith, right? So it's a challenge. People like challenge. So it's a lunge, woo, and then kick. All right, now call back, right? Remember, this leg in the air they can't see. You require good proprioceptive skills to feel where that leg is in space. To open the hip, right? Your external rotators of your hip, gemelli muscles, piriformis, obturator externus, internus, quadratus femoris, all external rotators of the hip. Take one more breath. And then like a cat, I'm a clunky cat, step back, and then go through, vinyasa, and then up, and then back. Okay, walk your feet halfway up your mat. Come up to standing, reach up, bring your hands to your heart. So we just did half moon, which is a hip opening pose. So let's do tree, which is another hip opening posture. So take the right foot, pull it up to the thigh, right? So just have them put it on the thigh, guys, right? Just cue it there. If they don't want to do this, they're going to do this. I don't really feel like you need to go in the whole thing about the knee, don't touch the knee. Just put it on your thigh. Now, when you take your arms up, keep hugging in as well as rooting down. Take a deep breath and then come out of the tree, right? And then take your left foot. Now, obviously, you can teach it how you want. I'm just saying, I do believe there's a lot of kind of misplaced concern about people touching the knee with their foot. And you can use that time to cue them to positive things like rooting and reaching instead of generating this fear of foot on knee fear. Reach up and then release. All right, so from here, bring your feet together, sweep up, fold down. Right, now lift halfway up and then sit low, coming into boat. Take your feet up. Right, now in boat here, I want you to kind of lift up through the heart and just keep the spine in its natural curves. You're not rounding, you're not overarching, right? Kyphosis, lordosis, none of that. You're just kind of in the midline. And then just lower a little and zip up. And then lower a little, and then zip up, and then lower a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and then you're on the floor, right? And then set your feet flat. I truly hope you all can see me. One of the reasons I don't typically do practice videos in my apartment is the distance from the camera is a little challenging. So that's why the view is a little different than what you normally see in my teaching videos. So hopefully you can see me. Feet hip width, arms by the sides, palms up, lift your hips for bridge. Right now here, as I come into hip extension, right, the primary muscle I'm using is gluteus maximus. Now hamstrings also collaborate with glute max to extend the hip, but they tend to be a little stronger in people because we sit so much, the glute max tends to get a little weaker. So we definitely want people to use their glute max, and we probably want them to use it more than their hamstrings. So you could ask them to create a little extra contraction by squeezing. So that might be a rationale for having people squeeze their glutes. Notice I didn't say anything about protecting the lower back or any of that stuff. I have a very specific reason why I'm asking them to contract their glutes, because I know from exercise science information, glute max tends to be weak in general when you look across the population. Okay, come down. Right, obviously this is way more than you would say during your teaching, but I want to share it with you so you have a little bit of the behind the scenes, at least when it comes to what I offer. And then lift your hips again, interlace your fingers underneath, draw your shoulder blades closer together. So now you've got your arms and your feet to use for leverage. You can kind of contract a little more around your sitting bones and then release. Bring the soles of your feet together. Take your knees out wide. And then hug your knees into your chest. Rock up to your seat, and then up and over to down dog. Okay, now from your down dog, bring your right knee forward and put your knee on the mat in front of your hip. And then extend back through your left foot and use your hands like a steering wheel kind of. You're just kind of steering your body to center. Right, now channel a little of your up dog here. So here I'm just cueing them to a little bit of spinal extension before I have them come down to the ground. I do this occasionally. it also helps them center a little bit more before they just kind of flop. And then you can come down to your elbows or bring your head to a block. Take 3 breaths. All right, and then come on up, set your hands down, step back to downward dog. And then pull your left knee forward. Now, when you bring your left knee forward, have it somewhere around your hip, in front of your hip. And then turn your back toes down and come upright a little bit, kind of channel your up dog. Steer your hips to center, very much like you do in your warrior 1. And then come down, you can kind of decide. Just try not to have your head just hanging there. Support your head with a block. Just thinking about the muscles of your neck that tend to fire a lot all day when we hang the head down. So we come to yoga, we want to give them a different experience. And then work your way up and take one last downward dog. And then walk your feet forward, come up to standing, reach up, bring your hands to your heart. Okay, so obviously I did not do Shavasana, which I encourage you to take. I wanted to end standing so I know you can see me and hear me clearly, and I wanted to make a connection with you eye to eye. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have suggestions for future practice videos in terms of their focus, please comment here on this video. I'd love to hear what you think. If you're not a member of my Facebook group, the Bare Bones Yoga Anatomy Work Group, I would definitely encourage you to join me there. It's a free group. I have great conversations with yoga teachers because there's some fabulous teachers from all over the globe in the group, and we have some really nice discussions. I do occasional lessons in there as well. And the last thing I want to tell you about is that a couple of times, actually more than a couple times a year, every couple months, I open enrollment for my Premier Learning Program, which is called the Blueprint Learning Program, BLP. And the Blueprint Learning Program is to help you understand the fundamentals of anatomy so that you can apply it to your teaching through the cues you use. And once you create that combination of knowledge and putting it into action through the cues that you use, you're going to find that your confidence in your teaching, your clarity in your teaching, your sense of purpose as a teacher, and your impact all are going to grow exponentially. So in order to get on the wait list, so you're notified first, the next time I open enrollment, all you need to do is go to my website, barebonesyoga.com, and right on the homepage, you'll see the link to sign up to be on the wait list. There's no obligation, it's just a wait list. You're just adding your name to the wait list to the Blueprint Learning Program. And the last thing I want to tell you is that I have a podcast called Conversations for Yoga Teachers. This, of course, is free, and on the podcast, I teach a variety of anatomy lessons. I interview teachers and other interesting people in the fitness and wellness arena, as well as just share general thoughts for teachers around personal development, especially things around getting rid of some of those self-limiting beliefs that can really block us from being our most powerful and authentic and clear, purpose-driven teacher. All things that are part of my mission in working with teachers. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Any information that you want, visit my website, barebonesyoga.com. Thanks so much for watching. Namaste.